I'm absolutely stuck now because it's only about just enough room for me to squeeze through here. Oh, blimey! Christ! Oh! This is getting ridiculous now.
It taken Wallace longer than most to get through his kitchen door.
Oh! Oh! Oh, okay. Oh, you're filming this?
Richard is one of the country's most extreme hoarders.
Someone said to me the other day, did I live here? I said, no, I exist here.
Well, a Surrey man who is hoarding tons of rubbish in his garden has won the right to keep it there.
Last year, the council ordered him to clear his garden, but Richard fought back.
Well, I decided to take a stand. An Englishman's home is his castle.
He took the case to Crown Court, represented himself, and won.
Your neighbours have nicknamed you Stig of the Dump. Can you understand their anger?
When he got away with it, people were screaming blue bloody murder.
Richard lives in a beautiful Surrey village that regularly competes for Britain in bloom glory.
There's some litter.
And the residents are determined not to let Richard spoil their plans.
There are times I walk past here and I think, I wonder if a match would have any effect. But it probably needs a bit of gasoline as well.
They should learn to mind their own business, really. It annoys me when it doesn't do that. Here we go now.
But inside the house, Richard's very survival is at stake.
It could be my downfall, as it were, literally. I mean, I'm aware of that situation.
If Richard is to save himself, he will have to accept that he needs help.
There is very much a problem here, and it's just that you fail to see it.
That's rubbish, though, isn't it? You're happy with that one too?
No, because it's got bits and pieces on it.
If
you can't pick hold of everything and then say, oh, rubbish, rubbish, rubbish.
If you can't part with that, then how are we going to part with other stuff here?
You've got to laugh about it, otherwise you get really...
Westcott's a pretty typical semi-rural village. We're very lucky to still have a couple of pubs and a village club.
It's still traditional, and that is lacking in the world today, I think.
It's a very blessed place in so many different ways. Pretty affluent generally.
I would call it an inclusive village rather than an exclusive. You know, I think in some villages it takes you about 10 years to get onto the Gardens Club committee. For instance, if you moved here and expressed an interest, we'd say, oh, thank heavens, come in, come and do the teas or something.
Living in the very heart of the village is Westcott's most notorious resident, Richard Wallace.
I think people tend to avoid him. I would nod at him and smile, but I wouldn't stop and have a conversation with him. We only know him in passing. We don't know him.
He enjoys being an enigma to a certain extent,
I've got
doesn't
no
he?
idea what he enjoys. He enjoys collecting.
Yes.
Richard has lived in the village his entire life.
But this is where it gets complicated just here. You watch me and sort of try and imitate me, OK?
But no one's got close to his front door, let alone stepped inside, since his mother died 6 years ago.
There's a brick there, left foot on the brick. This is where it gets a little bit stupid. Up into there like that. Use the red lights on, so presumably that's going all the time, is it? Yeah. I didn't realise that. You're on my foot.
Just getting through the porch to the front door is a meticulous exercise.
Get your leg through like that. Lean back that way so that it goes through like that. Well, I don't think you're going to be able to run with this footage because it's going to be a muddle. Right, OK. You watching me? Just watch what I'm doing, OK? So now I'm holding on to a thing up here now, and I'm going to go up in here like that and then go through there like that and sort of lay yourself, spread your load out so that you can slide through like that, OK? Now, do you seriously want to attempt that?
Yeah.
Oh, bloody heck. Oh, dear God.
Every room of Richard's 3-bedroom bungalow is packed full to the rafters.
OK. This is the kitchen, what was of it, chopped to the ceiling, literally, with, well, clutter, basically. total and absolute utter madness, and I'm the first to admit it.
Richard's home is testimony to a lifelong ambition.
The long-term objective is to construct and maintain an archive of papers and magazines. And I know you can get newspaper libraries as such, but I was intending to scan the various information into a computer so that I could then access all the information electronically.
Currently, Richard's newspaper collection remains uncatalogued. But this hasn't stopped him expanding his archive to include everything from packaging to classic cars. 18 of them, mainly Jags.
How far's the bathroom then?
Well, I'm in the bathroom. I have to sort of fall down here. Oh, heavens, this is moved a bit, actually.
With every inch of space used as storage, day-to-day life is almost impossible.
The bath is here, incidentally, underneath this one.
What?
Bath is here. Bath and shower unit is there.
So when did you last have a bath or shower?
Oh, some little time ago now, actually, several years. It's a bit of a fiddle.
Living amongst decades of clutter makes even the most basic functions a logistical nightmare.
You can't just think to someone, I'll just go to the bathroom. You have to build in a visit to the bathroom with other things.
Richard's hoarding is spread across £1 million worth of property that used to belong to his parents. As well as the bungalow, there's a 3-bedroom semi.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to remember that 34 years' worth of papers and magazines do take up quite a lot of space.
And 5 garages, all used for storage.
Ooh. Well, there you are.
His collection has spilled out into the once prized garden of the bungalow, and it's this that's angered the residents of Westcott.
Certainly I've walked past and I believe that I've seen one or two things with long tails running through, and I think that was the concern, that it was a health issue.
There has been people with problems about selling their house, for example, because of what's there.
We're very light on him. Nobody's gone round to sort of, nobody's gone round and threatened him. Frankly, there are times I walk past here and I think, I wonder if a match would have any effect, but it probably needs a bit of gasoline as well.
Every summer, the resentment felt about Richard's garden resurfaces as the village enters the annual Britain in Bloom competition to get the village looking its best. And every resident is expected to do their bit.
And then Friday is the judging of Westcott in Bloom, and this is a great opportunity for you to get out and trim your hedges and brush your paths just to make sure Westcott looks as good as it always does.
The judging day is just a week away, and retired pilot Jeremy Delaford is leading this year's campaign.
I think that's clean enough as it is now. Obviously, there's some litter.
Every year we come round again towards judging time, and we're making a superlative effort to make the place look pretty and sweet and clean and tidy.
Neat planting, good. Recycling, good. I would rather like Debbie to do something here.
I think people who stand back and just want something to happen are a little selfish. I think we need to, get involved in the village.
Richard's family used to be at the centre of village life, but years of hoarding have turned him into a virtual recluse. As an only child who never married or built a career, he always lived in the family home. With his parents dead, he now lives alone.
Now, are we ready for a cookery lesson? That's this tray, which goes conveniently down there like that, and there's the hob. This is
Richard's staple diet is 2 boiled eggs a day.
Grill tap going on now. It'll go hiss in it. You hear it go hiss? Here's the match. It's that. Annoys me when it doesn't do that. Here we go now. Like that.
And you're not worried about the fire risks?
No. Not really. Like that. There's a waft of warm air there now, but that's all it is, just warm air. Oh, it's quite warm there. 2. And that comes up here like so, like that.
Every aspect of Richard's home life operates to a precise set of rules.
You have to find a gap big enough to accommodate the tray and sort of wriggle it through Okay, now I'm going to have to use my momentum to get forward like that. The whole procedure takes about 3/4 of an hour. The trouble is the calorific content of the meal does not equal the amount of energy I spend getting it. If you see my point.
This is the only place to sit in Richard's home, and it's where he eats, works and sleeps. He hasn't slept in a bed in years.
So where's your TV?
The TV
Yeah.
is to your right. The remote control doesn't work very well because the sensor that picks it up is obscured. So you have to have several goes. That sometimes if I deflect it off the ceiling, it's better than aiming it directly.
You watch that?
Well, when there's a picture on it, yeah, sure.
So you kind of see half a programme?
Yeah, that's right.
Richard has made many sacrifices to live in his house. Just getting from his chair to the front door takes half an hour.
It's reached a point where even I can run out of tolerance now. It's not a life, it's just an existence at the moment, isn't it, really? Someone said to me the other day, did I live here? I said, no, I exist here. It's a subtle difference.
Westcott in Bloom chairman Jeremy Delaford is making some final preparations for the judging day.
He actually does garden maintenance, so he's actually a good guy to have on our side, because he can do some major stuff.
And one of his key allies to help the village look its best is local landscape gardener Andy Honey.
So I'm going to go and get dinner on the go. There's this In Bloom competition. I help them out now and again just purely because I've got a few tools and makes things a bit quicker and easier.
I've seen something else I can do.
One of my friends did call them fascists because they pulled up weeds in her front garden that she quite liked and they didn't knock on us. So I think maybe there could be a bit more communication at times.
This year, Andy's been asked to solve one of Westcott in Bloom's most enduring problems.
Because I've been on the Westcott in Bloom sort of on a committee, help them out where I can, it was discussed and yeah, I've just approached Mr. Wallace just to ask him because you can't do work on other people's property without their permission. So
Westcott in Bloom and a neighbour have paid for a fence to be built to hide the problem.
with any joy we will get this right the way along up to there and it will look, you know, fixed and complete and then people won't trouble Mr. Wallace as much. Yeah.
Lovely.
I'll see you all later.
Okay,
Thanks
cheers so much. Okay,
cheers,
welcome. Bye-bye now.
It's the hardest bit with it is not wanting to upset, you know, any parties involved in the village. It's trying to keep in the middle of it.
I mean, what is objectionable about that vista? Which is the point I made in court.
Richard may have convinced the judge, but some residents are still incensed that the court found in his favour.
Well, we had to live with this rubbish for many years. That's why I wonder if there is anything happening to resolve the situation. I mean, even if he was a neighbour, I'll probably stay away from him as much as possible. He's a weird character. It is immoral, in my opinion. Take care. Bye-bye.
You always get somebody who will take that view, and the more they do it, the more I'll go the opposite way. You know, they rile me up the wrong way, I will just deliberately leave the mess or create a mess. So they should learn to mind their own business, really.
Westcott Village is only days away from the judging of Britain in Bloom. All residents have been asked to make an effort, so Richard Wallace's property is once again a major bone of contention. But Richard is not only known in the village for his messy garden.
The easiest letterbox on the round, that one. Paper goes in very smoothly indeed.
He's also the paper boy.
I'm very happy to talk about Richard Wallace as a paper deliverer. I think he's excellent, you know, but I don't want to get involved in other controversies about him.
Westcott prides itself on its strong sense of community. Throughout the year, the village has a vast array of events packed into their social calendar.
There are more clubs and groups in Westcott than I've ever heard of anywhere.
We have a gardeners club, amateur dramatics,
Japanese martial art classes, line dancing.
I'm chairman of the Gardeners Club. I'm a stage manager for the Westcott Players. I'm secretary to the reading room. What else do I do?
Through the parish magazine, all the organisations are listed on it, and it's a long-running thing.
The parish magazine keeps the whole community up to date with local events and issues.
The village magazine has been a long stay in the village for, well, many, many years.
In 2009, the parish magazine got caught up in Richard's battle with the council, who'd already ordered him to clear his garden.
James Friend, our local councillor, is a contributor to the parish magazine. He writes every month.
In my role as councillor, the district councillor has the opportunity to write in the parish mag every month. Yeah.
Councillor Friend was the Westcott in Bloom chairman that year and used his regular column to address the problem of Richard's property.
The piles of accumulating rubbish are obviously a concern to me. The district council needs to establish that local residents think this rubbish is a detriment to the amenity of the area. If you think this to be the case, please take 5 minutes and explain it in a letter. Without a strong show of support, there is likely to be little opportunity to address this issue. As a councillor, really, she should be neutral, I think. But I interpreted the article as being a bit one-sided.
I wasn't asking residents to complain at all. What I was asking residents to do was to feed back to the council, because that's what the council asked me to do.
Did he come and speak to you first?
No. Not at all. No. Didn't elicit my opinion about anything at all.
I didn't get an opportunity to talk to him personally.
Well, a Surrey man who is hoarding tons of rubbish in his garden has won the right to keep it there.
In the ongoing legal action, Richard represented himself, appealed to the Crown Court and won.
It got a bit out of hand, what with Sky News and helicopter overhead and goodness knows what.
It is an eyesore. We can see behind you. Your neighbours have nicknamed you Stig of the Dump. Can you understand their anger?
The council was forced to pay Richard's costs. £250 to cover his photocopying and internet use at the local council library.
Let me assure you, when he got away with it, people were screaming blue bloody murder, and they really were extremely, extremely cross.
But Richard did have at least one supporter in Westcott.
At the time, I felt that he was getting a little bit victimised and picked on. I think I was probably the only one that found it slightly amusing on Westcott in Bloom when he did win.
A year on, and Richard's conflict with Westcott in Bloom is far from resolved. One of the highlights of the village summer is here. And the conditions have not stopped residents making a final push for glory.
The whole village knows about Westcott in Bloom. Everything's been tidied up, everything's been trimmed back. This is Britain. You do what you need to do to look good.
But not everyone in Westcott is excited by the day's events.
Can I just introduce you to James and Alan?
The judges finally arrived to inspect all the good work.
Who did your baskets?
The baskets were kindly donated by the gardening club. The Westcott community always works together when there's a project.
Some nice gardens here, which is nice to see. People making a bit of an effort.
So far, the day has gone to plan, but Jeremy knows danger lies ahead.
This is a fencing sponsored by In Bloom, because this is the property of the gentleman in question. You know, Mr. Wallace only comes up in the sense that Do we avoid him or do we go past him? This year we chose to go past him. Hopefully, the judges will judge that that is making an improvement to a difficult area.
Judges.
The judging day is wrapped up with a presentation from Westcott in Bloom founding chairman, Councillor Friend.
Westcott in Bloom has definitely raised the profile of amenity value. One resident commented to me just the other day that they didn't want to let their road down, and I'm sure they were taking the opportunity to help next door tidy up as well. Westcott is a community that's growing up around groups like Westcott in Bloom. Thank you.
Westcott was awarded a silver by the judges, a rank lower than last year. Richard started hoarding over 40 years ago, but to begin with, it was kept in check by his notoriously strict father.
If he were alive today and looked at it, he'd probably, well, it would kill him if he wasn't already dead. So that's probably what would happen there. He'd probably roll over at the sight of it all. He was quite a tidy person. He would be constantly sorting out and throwing out. And so I've sort of, if you like, rebelled against that.
After his father died in 1976, Richard had much more freedom. His grandparents owned a number of properties and businesses in the village, and this wealth allowed him to indulge his obsessions.
This particular one is the Vandenplas 4-litre R. Look better there than I do now. But so that's how it was. I mean, it was neat and tidy.
When Richard's mother was alive, she was a very genteel lady, very attractive, very well dressed, a real lady. And her bungalow and her garden was beautiful.
Mother said to me once, goodness knows what it's going to be like when I've gone. So it is a lot worse, so she was right. She was predicting the situation correctly. Right going on. Oh, no. See now, that wasn't provoked, was it? It just does it on its own. The fact that my... pissed off. Right, okay. Even I've got my limits. I mean, it's just getting a bit silly now, all this. Or got a bit silly. Can't go on like that. I mean, it just is madness, isn't it, really?
To try and find a way forward, Richard has agreed to meet one of the country's leading experts in hoarding. Dr. Steve Kellett is one of only a handful of clinical psychologists specialising in this field.
It's something that I'm fascinated by, and I'm really interested in developing better treatment models and improving the outcomes for people who have problems with hoarding.
It's a matter of debate as to whether I have got this problem. This professional person will no doubt come to a conclusion as to whether I have or haven't, and then we'll go from there.
Hello there.
Hello.
Is it Richard?
I am indeed. How do you do?
I'm Steve, or Stephen.
How do you do?
Pleased to meet you.
I'm very pleased to meet you.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
A typical assessment involves a face-to-face consultation and a tour of the property.
Now, obviously, you will want to go in. I warn you that the nature of the place is a little bit congested, to say the least.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. It's just a question of going around there. You want to come in, and to what extent do you want to go right the way through, or do you?
If we can just find somewhere we can sit and talk.
That might be a little bit difficult when you see what's on there, but we'll have a look. If you just put your head round the door first of all, so that you can see the situation before you start venturing in.
Okay.
You can have a good idea what you're up against.
Okay.
Okay.
Is every room covered to this level?
Not every room is covered to that level, no.
Okay. So
No, but the floor is like there, then you go a lot up on the floor, then it's up on the floor.
Okay.
It does get slightly easier.
Okay.
But,
where does this lead to?
This is the room you're entering now. Is the kitchen.
Okay.
From the hallway.
Yeah.
You come through or not?
And this is the kitchen?
This is the kitchen, yes.
Okay. And is every room similar to this?
I'm afraid so, yes.
Yeah.
At the moment, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Where do you sleep?
In the same chair as I sit in the other room there.
Okay. Okay. So
cat napping, all that sort of thing, really.
Yeah. Okay.
But I get by on it. It's all right.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Shall we?
You comfy outside?
Yes.
Fine.
Okay.
Let's get out there. I'll hold it out. I've got the door.
When you look at your property, how does it make you feel to look at it?
Oh, I'm not at all pleased with it. I mean, I would like bespoke storage facility.
Right.
And if I did that, then there would be no problem.
Right.
I don't really perceive it as a medical type of problem. I just perceive it as a practical problem.
Okay. My...
Please be frank, because...
Yeah, my perception is that there is very much a problem here.
Yeah,
and
okay.
It's just that you fail to see it, in a sense.
That's perfectly... Yeah, I accept that as a... Yeah, sure.
It would be very difficult to engage in anything that's even remotely productive for you. And what I would want to do is try to engage in some kind of looking at the problem and trying to sort it rather than transferring it into a storage facility.
So are you perhaps suggesting that the concept of retaining things is a problem in itself? Or?
I think so, yeah.
So you are, in a sense, advocating a throwaway society, a little bit.
Not advocating a throwaway society, but I think I'm advocating being able to live in a property that serves its original function. Yeah.
That's what I would ideally get back to. Oh, yeah. That would be a goal, certainly, and I would hope to achieve that in the not too distant future.
Yeah. Good. Well, I wish you luck with that.
Thank you.
Okay. Good. It's nice to have met you.
Richard's refusal to accept he has a psychological problem means Dr. Kellett is defeated.
And I trust you perhaps don't want to go in the house anymore, or...?
No, thank you.
No, I didn't think that. That's
I'll just put my jacket, it's behind you.
Oh, right, okay.
I think Richard's a chronic and severe hoarder. I've never crawled into a house before and had to crawl between the rooms of the house, 5 foot above the floor on the accumulated clutter, so that is unusual. Okay, thank you. In terms of services I can offer to him, it doesn't feel like there'd be any help because what he wants to do is create a storage facility as opposed to deal with his problems with hoarding.
His area is more medical than practical. I don't think it has to be approached in a psychological way. It's just a question of addressing it, dealing with it, and hey-ho, you're back to normal. It's one of those types of problems where it's difficult to know where to start because it's such a muddle. I've got myself into this quagmire, I will get myself out of it. And if that does turn out to be the case, then my view will be vindicated, won't it?
Richard Wallace's years of compulsive hoarding have ostracised him from the community he grew up in. But to the surprise of the village, he started to clear his garden. And word is spreading that Richard is at least making an effort.
Good God. It looks like you are doing some more now.
Landscape gardener Andy Honey recently built the fence on Richard's property, so knows him better than most.
If he asked me for help tidying up and said, look, I've got no money, but everyone's on my case, blah, 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 I'd willingly give him half day, a couple of lads, or day, whatever, just tidy up, just as a help.
Andy wants to strike while the iron is hot and put his offer directly to Richard.
If we get nowhere now and he blatantly says he doesn't want to do it, he doesn't want help, then that will be it. That will be the end of my efforts, if you like, unless he ever came back to me and said, I've changed my mind. The ball will be in his court after we meet now.
Morning, Richard. Good to see you again.
Sorry to sound rude, because obviously I've not been there. Whereabouts is your actual front door? Is it up this way?
This way.
Would you like us to sort of help?
No, I'll show you. You can have a look. And it's a bit slippery, so be a bit careful. So you can now see the front door is like there.
How do you get in and out in the winter?
With difficulty.
Yeah, well, that's right.
This would be good, because if we can get rid of these, if you're happy for these...
Yeah,
old
because
papers
it's
to
all
go-
got, you know, useless.
Well, I think I can help him. That's I know I can help him. It's looking positive, and yeah, let's hope we get somewhere with him, and that he knows that there is, even if he just wants to chat and doesn't want to talk about that or anything else. You know, he's a well-read guy, he's intelligent, obviously likes his newspapers, so even if he just wants to sit and have a chat one day if he's feeling a bit lonely, you know, if I've got time, I've got time. Anyway, I'm going to shoot. See you later.
Following his assessment, Dr. Steve Kellett felt unable to treat Richard, but having been inside his property, he's asked the local fire brigade to conduct a home safety visit.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Mr. Wallace.
Hello.
Adam.
Hello.
And this
Phil.
is Phil.
Nice to meet you.
Should we take a look then? Or?
Yeah, by all means,
Yeah,
yes,
fantastic.
okay.
Okay. Yep.
Now, I can get in and out, but it is difficult for someone who's not used to it to get in and out. So now, if you want to follow me and follow my action, you'll probably be a bit surprised at what I do next, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Which is to go under this is the kitchen door frame.
I knew you were going to say that.
The kitchen door frame, I've just put the light on. And this is how we access the kitchen, okay?
All right.
Now, I don't know whether you'll be able to fit underneath there. You should be able to.
Yep, no worries.
Okay.
Only slim. All right, so I'll come through?
Yeah. Let me just get to here a minute and I'll guide you through.
I actually feel a little nervous going in there.
For me, it's like, wow. It's just, you know, it's bizarre. You know, I was just, you know, I don't mean that it's all,
No,
you know,
that's okay. No, I accept it is slightly unusual.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing that you've lived like this for so long. You know, I mean, it's still around, really.
I can say for a fact that the two firefighters that are outside now, there's no way they'd get around this.
Oh, fucking hell. Well, you've seen some places in your time, no doubt. But, I mean,
yeah. I mean, this is up there.
It's up there, right?
Oh, no, I physically cannot get out. You won't get out of that.
I know. I think the normal checklist that we'd go through.
Yes, it's pretty.
It's irrelevant. I think
They've got to all be negative or crosses rather than ticks.
Do you use an electric blanket?
No.
Our concern is Mr. Wallace's safety. Best thing we can do is put smoke alarms in every room, so at least if there was a fire, he's got a really early warnings, you know, of what's going on. And hopefully clear some of the window space. He's got an immediate escape route.
Hand on this thing.
Yeah, no problem.
And then
It's mind blowing. You can't believe someone can live like that. Isn't it?
Yeah, pretty speechless, really. Can't describe it.
There's just so many hazards. And I mean, even like if he fell over and broke his leg, or how's he going to get out? Just unbelievable.
A week after offering help, Andy proves he's true to his word. First, they need to cut back the overgrowth simply to get at the rubbish underneath.
You're doing well. We need to get a couple more dinners in you, I think. Yeah. We're going to get you around for dinner one evening, so let me know what you like.
Okay.
So, I know it's a stupid question, where shall I put this?
Do you really want me to tell you?
When you talk to him one-to-one, he's a lovely guy to talk to. He's actually quite entertaining and I'm actually enjoying it. Richard, I'm going to call it a day today.
Okay.
I'll see you soon.
Okay, thanks
Lovely.
very much for your
Cheers,
effort.
No pleasure.
Cheers. See you.
He did say now he started it, he's going to go all the way and finish it all, but just a lot of it. Come back in 5 years and see if we finish. But no, it's got to start somewhere, isn't it?
Removing the foliage has exposed tons of rotten household waste.
Yeah. Be a lesson to anybody thinking about collecting things, don't. It's not really worth it, is it? It doesn't make sense.
For years, Richard's garden has been a source of conflict in Westcott Village. But now it's being cleared, and he's hoping things will be different. He's put the word out that Richard needs help, but has no idea if anyone will respond.
If we helped him clear his garden tomorrow, he would find some other avenue of collecting unwanted items.
We have to know that help is wanted before you can give help.
To help someone who some people would perceive as mentally ill because his way of looking at life is not quite the same as they perceive or we perceive to be the norm is altogether a much bigger step, and people will not get involved.
This is an immense job, hence why I've asked for help from other people, because it's just too much for me to do with Richard on our own. I'm hoping today that we're going to get a fair few turn up so he can feel that he's a bit more part of the community. It's all right, I've forgotten your name. Mark, that's it.
Where's the best place to get over?
And it's been a source of great contention, but it's actually been rather sad that there's been such a split about it. And it's great that we can actually have a chance to mend that and show that there are people in the village who do care.
I think it's going very well, actually. It's a really good turnout. It's always one of those worrying things, you don't know who's going to come, but I'm really pleased.
Up to just a few weeks ago, Richard hadn't thrown away anything for almost a decade.
At the moment, Richard's thrown away everything he regards as total waste. However, he did tell me he'd found some newspapers under a pile that were still dry and he wants to keep them, so we're still a long way to go. This is all rubbish, I presume, yeah?
Well, I'm sorting out there, isn't the rest of it?
Why is this not rubbish? Because look at that.
Oh, I know, some of it was no good, but some of it has miraculously survived.
They're all stuck together.
Well, yeah, well, maybe some of them are. I accept that them all.
Yeah,
I agree.
That is rubbish.
Well, it might be to you, but isn't the whole point of the exercise is to retain things like
that? The other day you said you felt that you were
obviously
well and you didn't need psychiatric help in any form or shape, and you said I'm proving that because I'm moving this.
Well, I mean,
I feel like crying.
Why?
Because I just feel we're going backwards.
Well, only because this has survived, that's all.
I just would be really happy if you let us go.
Would be. I would be happier if I stayed for a moment.
Can I not get rid of them hoovers? If I let you keep these...
Yeah, well, we're not doing a bartering. I mean...
No, but I'll feel that we're progressing in the right...
than the other items, yeah.
Lovely. Mine a little setback with a few papers, but I'd rather have kept a couple of papers and then a lot of this other rubbish.
I've made some major steps forward. A little tiny bit back won't hurt, I don't think.
It just shows, doesn't it, what you can do. You can take the right approach, because it's been tried once with possibly the wrong approach, a little bit in your face, and this time with a more softly approach, and it's achieving things, isn't it?
I wish we, as a village, had got more involved sooner. I certainly was one of the people walking up and down the road. I didn't have interactions with Richard at all. I just didn't know him.
In just one afternoon, the residents managed to clear over 30 tons of rubbish, ready for the council to take.
Well, actually, I'm surprised that so many people were prepared to turn up and make such a big effort so quickly. I wouldn't expect people to, to give up their time for little old me, as it were. I got myself into this mess, and so it's really down to me to get myself out of it. And help is welcome, because couldn't have achieved it today like they have.
For the first time in years, Richard can now walk to his front door.
I'm determined to get him so he can live and not exist, as he puts it, because I think it's really sad to think that somebody in this day and age exists.
To the relief of everyone in Westcott Village, Richard's property is no longer the eyesore it once was.
Good morning, Richard.
With the front garden cleared, Richard can start to sort the clutter from inside the house, 90% of which he wants to keep. Andy knows this will be a sensitive job, so has decided that he and Richard should tackle it alone.
Thank you.
If we just carry on some of these smaller bits then, like this, you're obviously happy.
Yeah, well, just the best thing to do is just chuck everything into
If I,
something.
well,
and then...
that's rubbish though, isn't it? You're happy with that one to go
No,
in?
because it's got
Why?
bits and pieces on it.
There's
For
nothing there
spares.
worth keeping. Spares for what? For another
Umbrellas.
umbrella that's that size?
Yeah,
No,
well,
you...
yeah,
This is
seriously.
where we've got to
I know,
have
I
something
know.
a bit more of a cream. But that's no good for anything, is it?
Yes, for spares.
It's
But-
bust
yeah.
everywhere.
Well, it might
What-
be bust in a lot of places, but
People-
I'll
people-
reassess it.
Right. We're gonna...
You can't pick hold of everything and then say, oh, rubbish, rubbish, rubbish.
If you
You've got to
can't
analyse
part
it.
with that, then
Yeah,
how
it's-
are we going to part with other stuff here?
The best thing to do is just not have an argument about it, just jump it down there and we'll talk about it later on.
Over the past 8 weeks, Richard has parted with tons of rubbish from the garden.
I don't want this.
Good. We're progressing, yeah?
But it's the stuff inside the house that he's really attached to.
Going to put that over this way.
Yeah, I'll probably want that there.
He's doing remarkably well. I feel we're going forward in leaps and bounds. It's a real roller coaster ride because one day I think we're going about 10 steps back. But from the initial conversation this morning, he's doing really, really well. So let's hope it carries on.
It's just absurd when you put it all out and see it all. I mean, I've forgotten I got most of this stuff, and you do tend to do that over time. It just keeps coming. Oh, where the hell is it? Look at it. What's this? Oh dear. What a bloody pickle I'm in. You can't believe. You just can't believe this. Oh God. Truth be told, it's far, far worse than I ever envisaged. It's really quite shocking. Now that it's all laid bare like this, I can see the stupidity of it and this medical condition known as hoarding. And that it's a psychological problem. Well, I was going to say I'm beginning to recognise it. I have recognised it now as a result of this. It's just ridiculous. They do say that you have to recognise the situation for what it is, otherwise you're in self-denial. And, I mean, how can you fail to recognise where you're going wrong with this mess? I mean, it's just indescribable. I really am. I'm worried about it. It is. Look at it. My mother would be absolutely horrified. But anyway, I've got to press on. Okay.
There's nothing wrong with having a good old cry now and again.
Well,
I think every man does.
yeah, it's just the thought of how she would feel about it that sort of hit me. That was that final push, you know.
We're going to keep going. I've
Yeah.
said to you before, I'm not going to leave you.
No, I know. No, I'm grateful for all the help.
Richard has gained a new perspective on why he hoards, and led by Andy, the village is now rallied to his support.
People in the village have been coming and bringing a meal every night for him, so at least he feels better, and you know, and he can see that we care. Today he's got a beautiful flush in his cheeks, and he's had a haircut, and you know, it's just a real privilege that he's let us in.
Now he probably feels that he's living again. You know, he's socialising. He's everything is just coming together for him.
Wow.
Now, so is this the Jag that's in the garage? I quite enjoy spending time with him. He's got a good sense of humour. I think I'll probably irritate him at times. And you've still got that old manky boot that's got concrete all over it, so I think you should throw that away today as well.
We'll have a discussion about that.
There's no discussion needed.
We have become friends, but he's a bit of a domineering character, unless you sort of one or two checks and balances. But no, I think we basically get along very well.
Chuck it.
I don't know.
Most of the garden is now clear, but the house is still a major concern. Before they can make further progress inside, Andy wants Richard to have some counselling.
I think this therapist would be the way forward. Well, I'm hoping it will be. It might not be, but I definitely think it's worth a try.
Yeah.
You're still happy to do because
yeah,
give up your time for that.
Yeah. I'm going to go one session to start with and then proceed from there. And if that rate of progress isn't good enough, then we might enrol as a sort of special course to do with hoarding.
I'm not expecting a massive turnaround, but if there's just one little breakthrough, it'll be well worth it.
It is difficult to suddenly change overnight. I don't think you can change overnight. It's got to be a gradual process. I think the whole exercise is quite a reward in itself. As I say, very therapeutic to get on top of it, to get back in control of things.
The teens learn what horsepower really means in Living with the Amish at the earlier time of 8 o'clock tomorrow. Next tonight, the family that stays together wins together. It's home for the holidays.